Next time you walk down a dirt path or cut across an empty lot, look down. There's a real chance you're standing on a pharmacy. For most of human history, before hospitals, before a drugstore on every corner, people survived wars, plagues, and brutal winters thanks to plants we now write off as weeds. This wasn't superstition. It was knowledge built over thousands of years, tested on battlefields, in monasteries, in farming villages where a wrong guess could kill you. Today on Soilspire, we're bringing 12 of them back. Some grow in the cracks of your sidewalk. Others became the chemical backbone of drugs you still take, though nobody mentions it anymore. And one of them handed aspirin its active molecule with one small difference. The original plant doesn't wreck your stomach. Stick around for the last one, because the story of how modern medicine took something nature had spent centuries perfecting, isolated it, synthesized it, and ended up with something worse. That's one of the biggest ironies in all of pharmacology. The scientific name is no accident. Achillea comes from Achilles, the Greek hero of the Trojan War. The myth says the centaur Chiron taught him to use this plant on his soldiers' battlefield wounds. That part's a legend. What came over the next 3,000 years was very real. Roman armies carried it on the march. The legionaries called it herba militaris, the soldier's herb. During the American Civil War, field doctors reached for it to stop bleeding when their supplies ran dry. And the effect on bleeding isn't folklore. Yarrow contains compounds that genuinely shorten clotting time and help scabs form. Modern studies confirm it's both hemostatic and vulnerary. It stops bleeding and speeds healing. At the same time, most plants only manage one of those. It grows wild across North America, in meadows, along roadsides, in untended fields, sending up dense clusters of small white or pink flowers on stiff stems. The leaves have an unmistakable feathery texture. The whole above-ground plant is medicinal. Crush a fresh leaf onto a cut, and it goes to work in minutes. For a hiker or a gardener, it might be the single most useful plant you can learn to recognize. You've probably walked past this hundreds of times without a second look. It grows in vacant lots, along highways, on the edges of fields nobody farms. A sturdy column up to 6 feet tall, wrapped in velvety gray-green leaves, topped with a tight spike of yellow flowers. Too common to look important. For 400 years of American medicine, it was anything but. Mullein was the go-to remedy for almost any respiratory trouble: chest congestion, bronchitis, a stubborn cough, asthma, the thick mucus that won't break loose. Herbalists called it the lung's best friend. The leaves carry saponins that act as natural expectorants, helping the body move mucus out instead of letting it sit and turn into infection. Modern reviews back up its anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial effects on the respiratory system. The old preparation was a tea of dried leaves, strained carefully through cloth to catch the tiny hairs that scratch the throat. Flowers steeped in olive oil were used for ear infections. For the kind of wet cough that just won't clear, Mullein doesn't mute the symptom the way most cough syrups do. It helps your lungs finish what they're already trying to do. On the Great Plains, long before medical textbooks had a name for the immune system, the Lakota, Comanche, and Cheyenne had already singled out a plant that seemed to help the body fight off illness. They called it the snakebite plant, partly because the roots were used on snakebites, but mostly for the spiny shape of the cone at the center of the flower. European settlers learned to use it from them. By 1900, Echinacea was the best-selling supplement in the United States. Then antibiotics arrived, and folk medicine got pushed aside almost overnight. But Echinacea was never actually disproven, it was just forgotten. Modern meta-analyses, pooling dozens of clinical trials, show Echinacea cuts the length of a common cold by about a day to a day and a half, and measurably softens how bad it gets. It's no magic shield. But for the millions of Americans who lose workdays every winter to colds and minor respiratory bugs, that's not nothing. Echinacea purpurea grows in gardens across the temperate US. Its drooping pink petals and dark central cone are easy to spot, and it's back on the shelves of major pharmacies today. When European settlers reached North America, they brought a plant with them without meaning to, one the native peoples soon started calling the white man's footprint, not as a symbol of conquest, but because it sprang up exactly where the settlers walked. Every trampled trail, every freshly cleared patch, every roadside churned up by wagon wheels, there it was. What Native Americans figured out fast was that this same plant trailing the newcomers across the continent was a first-rate medicine. A fresh leaf, crushed between the fingers, or chewed for a moment to break it open, pressed straight onto a bite or a cut, brought visible relief within minutes. Science backs up why. The leaves contain aucubin, a compound with anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties shown in clinical studies. One Iranian trial put a plantain ointment up against the standard treatment for second-degree burns, and the plantain won. Not by a hair, it won. The plant grows in every US state in any packed-down soil, with no one tending it. It's basically indestructible, and most people yank it out thinking it's a weed. Few names in herbal medicine are as blunt as the ones medieval herbalists pinned on this little plant. Self-heal or heal all. The one that heals itself. The one that heals everything. Those names weren't an accident. They came from generations who used it on just about any wound, mouth ulcer, sore throat, or irritated tissue, and watched it work often enough to stake the plant's name on it. Prunella vulgaris spreads as a low mat across lawns and meadows all over North America, with spikes of small purple flowers that bees keep coming back to. It's so common, most people mow right over it without a thought. What makes self-heal interesting to modern medicine is specific. Pharmacology reviews show it breaks up bacterial biofilms, the protective layers bacteria build to resist the immune system and antibiotics. Most remedies, herbal or pharmaceutical, attack bacteria head-on. Prunella goes after the structure that makes them hard to kill. For mouth ulcers, a sore throat, or inflamed mucous tissue, a strong infusion used as a rinse can bring relief in hours, not days. In the Middle Ages, European soldiers didn't march off to war without calendula flowers in their packs. They called it the war flower, not for decoration. When there was no surgeon, no antibiotics, and nothing standing between an open wound and a deadly infection, calendula was the difference between making it and not. The orange and yellow flowers of Calendula officinalis are among the best documented medicinal plants in modern pharmacology. They contain triterpenoids and flavonoids with anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties proven in the lab and in human clinical trials. Peer-reviewed studies show calendula extracts speed, the healing of surgical wounds, burns, and inflamed skin by a statistically significant margin. It grows easily in any American garden from spring through the first frost, and asks for almost no care. Steep dried flowers in olive or sunflower oil for 4 to 6 weeks, and you get a medicinal oil, add beeswax, and it becomes a balm. It's the same thing the skincare industry sells in tiny jars at boutique prices. Anyone can make it at home from a plant that runs under $3 at the nursery. Few names in herbal medicine are as literal as this plant's old nickname, knitbone. For centuries, across Europe and America, people packed comfrey root poultices straight onto fractures, sprains, and torn tissue with a confidence that wasn't superstition, it was hard-earned experience. They were right. Comfrey root contains a molecule called allantoin that drives cell proliferation. It literally speeds up the multiplication of the cells that repair damaged tissue. Multiple clinical trials in rheumatology and sports medicine journals have shown that comfrey root extract, applied topically, significantly cuts pain and improves function in ankle sprains, lower back pain, and abrasions, with results matching or beating some over-the-counter anti-inflammatories. One thing has to be crystal clear, comfrey is for external use only. It contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids that can damage the liver if you swallow it. But applied as a balm or poultice, on inflamed joints, knotted muscles, or deep bruises, it's one of the most effective recovery agents botany has produced. It grows easily as a perennial in gardens across the northern and central US. In the late 1800s, on the counter of just about any American pharmacy or general store, you'd find something almost nobody remembers today: Horehound candy. It wasn't a treat. It was over-the-counter medicine in candy form, and families bought it as casually as we grab throat lozenges now. White Horehound was the standard cough remedy in the US for over 2 centuries. Marrubium vulgare contains a molecule called Marrubium that stimulates bronchial secretions and helps loosen congestion. Recognized herbal monographs in Europe still list it as a valid treatment for wet coughs and bronchitis, and some European cough syrups still carry it as an active ingredient. Here's the idea that makes it matter today. Horehound doesn't suppress a cough. It makes it more productive. Instead of silencing the symptom, it tunes the body's response so the infection comes out instead of staying put. That's real healing, not symptom management. The plant is a shrubby perennial with gray-green leaves and small white flowers that thrives in dry gardens across America. It vanished from pharmacy shelves when the drug industry modernized the cough syrup market. The plant didn't vanish. It just slipped into obscurity. The winter of 1918 was the deadliest in modern history. The Spanish flu pandemic killed somewhere between 50 and 100 million people worldwide. more than both world wars combined. Doctors of the day had little to work with, but in rural pockets of Europe and America, communities that had held on to traditional herbal knowledge did something the city doctors didn't understand. They made black elderberry syrup. Sambucus nigra has been part of European and American folk medicine for at least 2,000 years. Its berries contain anthocyanins, compounds with antiviral properties documented in the lab. One randomized clinical trial found black elderberry extract cut the length of confirmed flu by 56% compared to placebo. Another, with international travelers, found that those who took the supplement had milder symptoms and recovered an average of 4 days sooner than the control group. The shrub grows all along the U.S. East Coast and through the Northwest. Its summer clusters of small black berries are unmistakable. Important, the berries have to be cooked before you eat them. Raw, they contain compounds that can upset your stomach. Cooked into syrup with honey and spices, they're one of the most science-backed winter remedies you can make at home. In the damp forests of the Pacific Northwest, where ferns grow over moss-covered stones and the rain barely lets up from October to May, there's a thorny evergreen shrub that doesn't catch your eye at first. Its glossy, spiny leaves look vaguely like Christmas holly. Its small yellow flowers open in early spring. Its gray-blue summer berries are bitter, and almost nobody eats them. But inside, its bark and roots are a deep yellow, and that yellow has a name: berberine. Berberine is one of the most studied plant alkaloids in modern pharmacology. It has documented antimicrobial activity, anti-inflammatory effects, and, this is the key part, multiple human clinical trials have shown that Mahonia aquifolium creams and extracts significantly improve the symptoms of psoriasis and atopic dermatitis, two chronic conditions that conventional medicine tends to manage but rarely resolves. It's not instant. It takes weeks of consistency. But for people who've spent years managing chronic inflamed skin with steroids that don't work like they used to, Oregon Grape is a real alternative, one with actual science behind it, not just tradition. There's a conversation happening in labs around the world with an urgency that didn't exist 20 years ago. Antibiotic resistance is turning once routine infections into serious medical problems. Bacteria evolve faster than drug companies can develop new molecules, and in that pressure, scientists have started looking back at plants Western medicine threw out decades ago. Barberry has shown up in medical texts for over 2,000 years, in ancient Persian medicine, in Ayurveda, in traditional Chinese medicine. Berberis vulgaris contains the same berberine as Oregon grape, but at even higher concentrations in its inner bark and roots. Recent studies have shown antimicrobial activity against strains of bacteria resistant to multiple antibiotics, including some that pose serious threats in clinical settings. Beyond its antimicrobial side, berberine has documented effects on metabolism. It improves insulin sensitivity, helps regulate cholesterol, and has systemic anti-inflammatory properties. In China, berberine supplements are regularly prescribed for type 2 diabetes, with results some studies compare favorably to metformin. The shrub grows in gardens across the northern and central U.S. Its red berries are tart and edible, but it's the bark, that deep yellow inner layer, where the medicine lives. In 1897, chemists at Bayer synthesized a molecule that would change medicine forever. They called it acetyl salicylic acid. The world knows it as aspirin. The official story calls it a triumph of modern chemistry. What the official story leaves out is that the base molecule came from a plant European herbalists had used for centuries for exactly the same things: pain, fever, inflammation. Meadowsweet grows in wet meadows and along stream banks. Its clusters of creamy, fragrant flowers bloom in summer with a scent somewhere between almond and honey. The flowers and leaves contain salicylates, the compounds aspirin is built from. But here's the detail chemistry books rarely mention. Meadowsweet doesn't hurt your stomach. Synthetic aspirin causes stomach irritation, even ulcers, with regular use. Medieval herbalists used meadowsweet for pain and fever, and also, deliberately, to calm an inflamed stomach. The whole plant, with all its compounds working together, delivers the anti-inflammatory effect without the gut damage the isolated acid causes. Modern science has a name for this: the entourage effect. Nature had solved the problem centuries before the labs knew it existed. It still grows in ditches and wet meadows along the East Coast and the Pacific Northwest, and nobody prescribes it. From the Yarrow Roman legions carried into battle to the meadowsweet that gave aspirin its molecule, these 12 plants share more than their healing power. They share a story of being quietly pushed out of sight. They didn't disappear because they failed. They disappeared because they couldn't be patented, because they grow without asking permission, because they work without anyone taking the credit or charging the markup. That doesn't mean they replace modern medicine when things get serious. It means this knowledge belongs to anyone who lives close to the land, or simply wants to understand where their own well-being comes from. Which of these surprised you most? Is there one you've already used without knowing the science backed it up? Tell us in the comments. And if this opened your eyes to what's growing unnoticed all around you, subscribe to Soilspire so you don't miss what's next. This is Soilspire. See you in the next one.